Good evening and welcome to this week's edition of Close Up. I'm Yochanan Elrom. There's only one country in Europe where the Jewish population is increasing. You may be surprised to learn that that nation is Germany, the country whose evil Nazi regime tried to exterminate the Jewish people not so long ago. I recently traveled to Berlin to take a look at this phenomenon and to ask the question, should Jews be living in Germany today? 65 years ago saw the end of World War II. And with it came the end of the Jewish people's nightmare, the Shoah, or Holocaust. I'm here in Germany, home to the third largest Jewish community in Europe, and the only country in Europe where the Jewish population is actually increasing. But before we take a look at the Jews of Germany today, let's begin in the heart of Berlin, at the Holocaust Memorial, where I spoke with German passers-by and asked them how they relate to that period of German history. When you see this place as a native Berliner, what do you think?
What I'm thinking? I think it's a place where people can meet, where people can enjoy the sunshine, enjoy Berlin. It's the place I bring people which are from other countries to show them Berlin, because I think it's from one side interesting. It shows a little bit of history. It shows a little bit of the heart of Berlin, and also you can relax and you can spend some nice time, sit here around. Yeah.
What I really don't like about the German society and politics, it's like it's like, how should I say it? It's like we still say it's our fault. Of course, it's our fault. But sometimes I think we should say it's forgotten. We still know it. We still pay for it. Like, of course, we pay a lot of money to Israel and something like this. But it's like we should stop being the man who killed everybody, because we're not that. We're the person who did a mistake in the past, and now we learned of it, and we're still paying, and so get over it. Because like the American people still always make joke, oh, you were in German. Was it okay, or did a Nazi kill you or something like this? It's always this joke, and I don't like it because it's not where we are anymore.
We as Germans, we are aware of it, and I'm sure it will always be part of our history, but we don't feel that incredible personal guilt anymore. We feel it as a society, and there's a certain responsibility about it, but it becomes history. See, so for my generation, and of course certainly for the younger ones, it's history. We as Germans, we are okay with what we've done, but I still feel that the Jewish society needs help on how to deal with the past and somehow to let it go and not to utilize it so much.
The persecution of the Jews began almost immediately after Adolf Hitler became chancellor in 1933. There were boycotts of Jewish shops, kosher butchering was outlawed, and Jewish children began to experience discrimination in public schools. The Nuremberg Laws of 1935 stripped German Jews of their citizenship. Jewish economic activity and occupational opportunities were severely restricted. Jews were required to carry ID cards identifying themselves as Jews. Any hope that this persecution would be short-lived came to a violent end on November 9th and 10th, 1938, when German mobs, supported by SS troops and Hitler Youth, attacked thousands of Jewish-owned shops and businesses. Cemeteries were vandalized, and hundreds of synagogues were burned and destroyed as firefighters stood by, only intervening to protect adjacent German homes and businesses from catching fire. 91 Jews were murdered, and tens of thousands of men were rounded up and sent to concentration camps. It was called Kristallnacht, or Night of the Broken Glass, but it really marked the beginning of the Holocaust. Soon after, Hitler and his gang of Nazis put into motion the so-called Final Solution, an evil, calculated, systematic program intended to exterminate European Jewry, a plan that resulted in the murder of at least 6 million Jews, including 1.5 million children, before it was halted by the Allied victory over Germany. The pre-war Jewish population of Germany totaled more than 500,000. but by the end of the Holocaust, only a few thousand remained. Some survived the concentration camps, others managed to cling to life by hiding. Today, however, it's a very different picture. The Jewish community of Germany is thriving and experiencing a revitalization, primarily as the result of a large wave of Jewish immigration to Germany following the breakup of the former Soviet Union, and also thanks to programs like Limmud, which brings Jews from all walks of life, all backgrounds, all lifestyles, and all ages together for quality, innovative Jewish educational events. While in Germany, I attended the Limmud Festival. The scenic venue was tucked away in a forest about an hour outside of Berlin, in what had been the former East Germany. The site once served as a weekend retreat for communist officials. But this weekend, it belonged to the Jews of Germany. Limmud is sponsored by the European Jewish Fund, which is dedicated to promoting Jewish life throughout Europe by supporting programs to reinforce Jewish identity and Jewish pride. The fund also addresses threats to contemporary Jewish life, such as anti-Semitism and assimilation. The importance of such a gathering became apparent as I spoke with 34-year-old Sophie Malo, an attorney who founded Limmud Germany.
Even if it is not right to have Jews living in Germany, they are here, it's a fact. And the Russians who escaped Russia, they think Germany is a really cool place to live. You know, they feel this is a free country, they can speak and say what they want and do what they want, they have so many opportunities, so for them it's an upgrade? An upgrade, yes, to live in Germany, which for us is really a weird perspective, but okay. And so I realized that there will be Jews in Germany. The question is, will there be Jewry in Germany? And I think that if there are Jews in Germany, at least these Jews should be Jewish. I mean, they should live Jewry. And then now we make a circle, because then the thing is, do you leave them by themselves? Because they will live in Germany. There will always be Jews living in Germany. So do you not care about them and make them be empty Jews? Or will you fill them with content and teach them something about their culture and maybe, give them an incentive to leave to Israel because they prefer living there, or just, go on and live their Jewry, even if it's a weird place to be.
Are you optimistic about the future of the Jewish community?
Right now, yes. I mean, right now I think that the Jewry in Germany is getting interesting. We didn't have a lot to offer, really not. I mean, no good, Jewish teacher that was, taught abroad wanted to come to Germany to teach. Why should he bring all his family and live in Germany where, it's an awful place to be, everywhere it's a graveyard and everywhere is, you have this history in front of you. Why should he come here and teach Jews something about Judaism? Why should he do that? He prefers going somewhere else. Now we have this change. Now people, good pedagogues are coming, good teachers, good rabbis are coming. So right now, I say yes.
Top quality educators and rabbis no longer shun Germany. In fact, they're eager to do what they can to make sure the Jewish community is not forgotten. I met one such rabbi, David Rose of England, who now serves as director of the Beit Zion Yeshiva in Berlin.
I think it's not only a good thing, I think it's a necessity that there is Jewish life. There is opportunities for the Jews, especially the young Jews here in Germany, to have an opportunity to learn about their heritage, to learn about Yiddishkeit. And we're here at the yeshiva, we're trying to provide them that.
This re-energizing of the Jewish community in Germany was mainly the result of a huge wave of immigration from the former Soviet Union. How are you dealing specifically with Russian immigrants?
Absolutely. The vast majority of our students are either immigrants from the former Soviet Union or are children of those immigrants. Many of them are multilingual. They speak Russian at home, they speak German with their friends. The official language here is actually English, and that is the main focus that is our main target audience, because they make up the vast majority of the Jewish population here in Germany today.
Did you find that you had to start from ground zero with regard to Yiddishkeit? Did they come knowing nothing?
Generally speaking, yes, they knew nothing. We start with Aleph Bet and work up from there. Some of them had a little bit of knowledge. Some of them may have learned and studied elsewhere prior to coming and being involved with our institutions. But generally, yes, we start from the absolute basics. We have a very good relationship with the local community, the Jewish Gemeinde of Berlin. They support us. Our school is under their auspices. And generally, people see the growth of Jewish life here in the neighborhood as a positive thing.
You started off very small with only a few students, and now your yeshiva is growing, and the young ladies' midrasha is also growing nearby, and the families are growing too, aren't they?
Absolutely. The last few years have seen a tremendous growth, a ballooning of the community here, with many of the young boys in the yeshiva marrying the girls from the midrasha and elsewhere. Also, other families from around Germany have been attracted to come and join our community. They see as a thriving, active place for Jewish life. We have kosher facilities here, kosher shop, a cafe down the road. It seems that in Germany, this seems to be the place that people are becoming attracted to.
But not everyone agrees that this attraction is a positive thing. One of those is Nazi hunter Dr. Ephraim Zuroff, head of the Simon Wiesenthal Center in Israel.
But I have to say that I really find myself here in a terrible dilemma from a Jewish perspective. And the fact that this event is taking place in Germany is something that on the one hand is almost miraculous. But on the other hand, it presents a challenge to the state of Israel, a challenge to Zionism. The fact that so many Jews left the Soviet Union chose to come to live in Germany is on a certain level, certainly on a symbolic level, it's absolutely outrageous. It's absolutely mind-boggling. In other words, a country that prided itself on its anti-fascism, and its greatest moment was its victory over Nazi Germany in World War II. People from that country come to live in the country that spawned Nazism. I think that the bottom line is to try and help these people be as Jewish as possible, strengthen their Jewish identity, in the hope that that will, first of all, ensure their continuity. In other words, that I think is the major question. So if I can help in that respect, I want to help in that respect. And in order to do so, I think I have to try and not be as judgmental as I would towards their living in Germany.
Are they getting to the point where it's time in their own minds to say, enough already, let's move on with our lives, let's put the Holocaust behind us, we're living in Germany, we need to get along with the German people?
No, I don't see any of that. I don't see any of that at any age here. And I think it's a given that this is a permanent part of the perception and of the attitudes of people in terms of living in Germany, and they accept that. The question is really how much does it affect you, to what extent, and how it affects you. But to be honest, I really feel torn. As an Israeli by choice, as a Zionist by conviction, it's difficult to be here and not to think of what should be.
Julia, when the former Soviet Union collapsed and the great wave of Russian immigration began, why do you think so many former Soviet Jews chose to settle in Germany rather than other European countries or even Israel?
Thank you for the great question. I think that I'm quite an exemption. My grandparents were there working, and I was really interested in German culture. It sounds, perhaps for someone who's a grandchild of Holocaust survivors, not that great, but I was. And the rest of the people, I'm quite sure, were interested in Germany because of social structures, and the fact that Germany is still Europe. A lot of people couldn't make the step and move to US or move to Israel. I was intern in a social department of Jewish community in Dortmund, and I talked to people and said, why Germany? And why not Israel? And they said, okay, Israel, it's weather, it's not that. And Israel, it's somewhere in the middle of the desert, or they have an impression that Israel is somewhere in the middle of the desert. The half of my family, the brothers of my grandma, they after the Soviet Union collapsed, they get a position like a Bar-Ilan University professors, and they just went to Israel and were feeling they're perfect after spending the half of their life forced to be professors in Novosibirsk, so they feel they're great. And I couldn't understand why people say, oh, Israel, it's desert, we don't go there. So, yeah.
What are some of the challenges that they are facing here in Germany?
Well, I think the main challenges that the Jewish communities are facing here have to do with integration, because you have this enormous influx over the past 20 years of Russian-speaking Jews, and many of them have different attitudes towards religion because of the background in the former Soviet era. So there are a lot of questions that come up about whether they should have to become more like the established post-war community, or whether the established post-war community should start becoming a little bit more like their majority, reflecting more their majority. So that's one of the problems. But the other challenge is trying to convey to an American or British audience that might tend to have stereotypes about Jewish life in Germany, that it can be a rich and varied and beautiful Jewish life here, despite the history, given the history. It's not forgotten. And when people ask me why do Jews live here, how can they live here? There are so many answers to that question. But I think it's very just important for people to know that that they do have good reasons to be here, and also that Germany tends to be very supportive of Israel. It's not something that everybody abroad knows. I think Israelis know it very well, but Americans and I don't know about other Europeans. I don't know how well they know that.
Do you feel optimistic as you look at the Jewish situation in Germany today?
The biggest problem we have are the Jews. We are very badly organized. There's a lot of people in positions of control and power who will not let go. We have quite a few people who, to be honest, I'm no longer quite so young myself. It would help if they would eventually finally retire and let another generation have a turn. We also have the issue, of course, of secular Jews, religious Jews, the East Europeans, the former Soviet Union immigrants, Israeli, Yehudim, Americans. It's an enormous mixture. The power situation is that we have a centralized structure. And that means the money comes from the top and is then distributed, and whoever distributes some funding has the power. In England, where I come from, the money comes from the bottom. The people pay their subscriptions, their membership dues, and it comes upwards. So we have many cases in Germany where public money is misused, where lawyers are paid vast amounts of money by congregations who then say we have no money left for teachers and rabbis. And this actually worries me a lot more than all the other obvious problems. Yes, there are right-wingers. Yes, there are neo-Nazis. Yes, there are problems. But we have that all over the world, and we cope. The issues in Germany are not the history. It's more a matter of how are we going to organize our religious communal affairs better. And as an example of that, I work very much in the non-Orthodox congregations, and we are simply cut out of most of the state funding. The state gives money to the Landesverband, the local German federal state, and then says hand it on to the congregations, and they decide for themselves who they want to hand it to. So Chabad gets money, or Lauda gets money, or other groups, and the liberal communities don't. This is long-term a major issue.
Like other branches of Judaism, the conservative movement in Germany is also experiencing a growth. At Limmud, I spoke with Giza Ederberg, the rabbi of the Oranienburger Strasse Synagogue in Berlin, who had just concluded an egalitarian service in the room that also served as a disco at the retreat.
One of the most important issues is that people still need to find the the trust in themselves to see we really can have a full, meaningful Jewish life living in 21st century Europe, Germany, Berlin.
Is your congregation sort of a mix of people, maybe Germans who were born here, Russian Olim, tourist American?
It's very much a mix. We get many Americans, we get many Israelis actually, many secular Israelis actually, who come to Berlin and then find their way back to Judaism. The synagogue doesn't have that many Russians because it started as a chavura, which means it's demanding a lot of contribution from the members, but we are getting into that population also now.
Do you feel optimistic as you look forward?
Yes, definitely. I see that people are not only interested in learning about Judaism, but that they are really committed and searching for a serious Jewish commitment in their lives.
Do you find a lot of non-Jewish Germans coming to you, expressing an interest to learn about Judaism and maybe even study for conversion?
I could be at least full-time employed to teach non-Jews. There's a huge demand, and part of them are interested in conversion. I need to prioritize, so I like it very much because I think it's an important sign for the German society, how open they are, how interested people become. But I am concentrating as much as I can on building the Jewish community itself.
What do you attribute this to? Is it a recent interest on the part of the non-Jews?
No, I think Germany has done a very, very good job in terms of Holocaust education. The only problem being that usually then Jews are just the victims of the Nazis, but some of the Germans then get interested. I mean, Germans are the second largest visitor group to Israel, for example. And then they grow into it and get interested. And I mean, Judaism is fascinating, so.
The Jews of Germany do not live in a vacuum. Lala Suskin, president of the Berlin Jewish community, said when something happens in Israel, it invariably impacts the Jews of Germany.
Yes, for sure. You know, it was a Gaza conflict. And in the beginning of the year, we had a lot of demonstrations here in Berlin against Israel, but mostly from the Muslim side, from the Palestinian side, not the Turkish people who are living here. And every single day we had demonstrations against Israel. And then the first time I got emails here where said, "Who are you? Go home, wherever home is. My home is here." But anyhow, then we did a big demonstration here at the Gedächtniskirche, and I invited all the democratic parties of Berlin, and they were speaking for Israel. But anyhow, you have to cope it. That's the way it is. If Israel is doing something which maybe not this good, all Jewish people in the world are blamed. And then I said, okay, if you try to blame me, I try to do the best and to say, okay, it's not only this part in Israel, which maybe not okay, but we have so many good things. And I try to bring it to the open what's going on in Israel about the good things. And that's our task to do.
I'm sure you've been asked, why would a Jew want to live in Germany today if they could live elsewhere?
Listen, if I would have been asked, I would never have chosen Germany. But I was growing up here. I know everything here in the town. I know the people, and I can cope with these people. You know, that's my life here, and I would say it doesn't matter where a Jew is living. I could live in the States or in Great Britain or wherever, but still I would be the minority. So, and I think as a minority, wherever we as Jews are living, we have to try to do our best, which means that we are keeping our Jewishness, and that we are able to inherit it to our kids and to our grandchildren. And what's wrong about a Jew living in Germany?
We began this program by asking the question, should Jews be living in Germany today? It's a question that is easy for some but complicated for others, one that each of us has to answer for ourselves. I want to take this opportunity to thank the Jews of Germany for their warm hospitality and to Israel Up Close for its assistance. We'd like to know what you think. Take a moment to send us an email, ibatvnews@gmail.com, ibatvnews@gmail.com. I'm Yochanan El Rom. Thanks for watching, and shalom from Jerusalem.